show up. We might as well.
Let's go immediately to our callers for more questions in the crisis conference. To Alaska for Jim Clancy.
Yes, Mr. Clancy. I was in the Navy aboard an aircraft carrying a Persian Gulf in the mid-'80s. It's phenomenal, the air power that we have aboard one of those. And with all the other carriers and the nations that are gathered in the coalition, isn't it true that the disaster effect that we do have is phenomenal? And doesn't Mr. Hussein realize this? And is it just he's trying to save face or mislead his people? And can you shed some light on that for me?
Well, maybe John Holliman will have something to add to this, but it occurs to me that the thing that Saddam Hussein does best is he stays in power. In the history of Iraq, modern Iraq, he has endured longer than any other leader. He has done that through a series of ruthless executions from the time he took power. He has shown that the lessons he learned in prison when he tried to overthrow another regime, those lessons were that don't allow your political opponents to live, and he exactly doesn't do that. So now he feels threatened that if he backs down in this situation, he is going to lose power. And it may be that he is backed into a corner. He sees his political end, and he is willing to take everyone with him despite the risks, knowing what the odds are, knowing what kind of a force is up against him. He is saying, I'll take it to the end. That's the real danger that people see here.
I'll tell you what people in Baghdad see as a danger, that Saddam Hussein is going to get their country into war. We've just received word from Ingrid Formanek, our producer, who's just come in from the streets of Baghdad, and today, as there have been in the past, there are long gasoline lines. People very worried about war, want to fill up their gas tanks so they could go someplace in a hurry if they had to. And today, for the first time, there are numerous policemen at the gas stations. People are looking very concerned and unhappy and telling us that nobody in Baghdad wants war. Well, President Saddam Hussein's view of this, as if you can use history as an example at least, might be to take this right down to the brink, take it down to January 15th, maybe beyond. Continue to do what he's done in the past, which is talk very, very belligerently about not being pushed around. There's still a possibility, and some people still have a hope, but it's a hope which is dimming, that perhaps at the last minute he'll find a way to get out of Kuwait and avoid what's very likely to happen if he does not get out.
A caller now from Louisiana for Jim Clancy. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name's Jeff Bass. I'm from Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
My question is, I'd like to know who's really going to pay for this war. We're pledging our countrymen. We're pledging a lot of our money. I don't see the Saudis doing a lot. I don't see the Japanese doing a lot. I don't see the Germans doing a lot. I don't see anybody doing a lot, but the Americans. Who's going to pay for it?
Okay.
We're going to pay for it. That's who.
All right. Do you have a question? Well, you've answered it, I think. So let's go on to another. Chattanooga, Tennessee for Jim Clancy. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Clancy. I wanted to find out if when we do this attack, if we do, they say it's going to be quick and powerful. Will that result in us being able to bring our troops back to Chattanooga and back to the U.S. after so? And another question is, if we do stay for a while, what are your limitations as far as media goes to be able to go in and cover some of the destruction or what has been done from the battle?
Jim?
Okay, to answer your first question, let me say this, that it is not clear how long U.S. troops would have to stay. If there is a conflict, and if Saddam Hussein were overthrown, the belief is that U.S. troops would not have to stay as long, at least as many of them. If there is a standoff, he withdraws from Kuwait, he keeps his troops massed on the Saudi border, on the Kuwaiti border. That is going to require a long-term U.S. presence to offset the massive firepower that he has, the sheer numbers of troops that he has. So the answer to that, I guess, is we have to wait and see how all of this is resolved and how we can work it out. In regards to what the media is going to do, the people that write the checks upstairs are going to have to decide how much we can afford. The economic situation in the United States will dictate a lot of that, but I think that you will see newspapers and television networks remaining here as long as U.S. troops are in place in the region.
To Missouri for Margaret Lowrie.
Margaret?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Over there, will the Arab alliance stay together in a war with Israel? If Saddam Hussein attacks Israel in response to our attack on his country or on the occupied area, and if he retaliates against Israel with the Arab coalition.
Okay, let's go ahead. Margaret, do you want to respond?
Well, yeah, I think that's a $64,000 question. It is the wild card question, and it's anybody's guess what will happen to the Arab coalition if Israel is drawn into the mix.
Okay, let's go to Colorado for Linda Scherzer. Colorado, go ahead. Hello, Colorado?
Yes, I'm a former member of the armed forces, and I've studied land warfare for several years, and I was wondering whether U.S. troops are considering a direct assault on Baghdad as opposed to moving into Kuwait to try to dislodge an entrenched enemy, which would be far, far more difficult than fighting force on force.
Okay, let me redirect that question to Jim Clancy, who may have a better insight on that. Jim?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
He's trying to determine the type of warfare that the U.S. and the Allied troops might be intending to fight, whether it would be a land war, an air war, or...
Well, from what we know, it could be a combination of air war and land war, something to divert the massive troops that Saddam Hussein has, soften them up perhaps with air power, and then try to split that force either by a flanking action to cut off their supply routes or an amphibious landing somewhere in Kuwait or in Iraq in order to make them fight in 2 or 3 different directions. But as one of the public affairs officers here says, he's read all of the scenarios that we've written about any offensive the U.S. must launch, and he says it's only proof that we don't know anything. So no one can predict what it is. I would imagine that only the generals know what the U.S. has in store.
Jim, if you and the other correspondents will stand by, we'll be back with more callers in just a moment, but first this.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer proudly presents Academy Award winner Sally Field.
I'm trying to get back home to America with my daughter.
In the terrifying true story of a mother and her daughter whose only crime was being American.
I love my baby!
You have no rights to the children.
I promise you I won't leave you.
Not without my daughter. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
This is an important message for U.S. veterans discharged after 1940. Whether you served during peacetime or war and are currently aged 30 to 69, call this toll-free number now for free, no-obligation information about a veterans-only term life plan that costs just $1 a week. These veterans' life insurance benefits are guaranteed never to go down, and they are available at the guaranteed rate of just $1 a week. There is no waiting period. Benefits are paid from the first day of coverage. Call this number now for free information about this $1-a-week veterans-only life plan. Remember, only veterans, their spouses and widows, age 30 to 69 qualify for this offer. Term life insurance for $1 a week. Don't wait. Call this toll-free number now for free information from Veterans Life Insurance Company.
I would be very strongly in favor of waiting a lot longer and seeing if sanctions can resolve this without wasting a lot of lives.
Back to our crisis conference, your questions for our correspondents covering the situation in the Middle East and also our correspondent in Geneva. Our first call from Connecticut for Jim Clancy. Connecticut, go ahead.
Hi, this is Craig Collins calling in reference to how the treatment of women are going to be as far as the Army is concerned with the MPs as far as guarding POWs in reference to the Iraqi,
Okay.
POWs are concerned.
Jim?
Okay, now you're asking me how, whether or not women MPs are going to be also charged with guarding the Iraqi POWs. As I understand it, I know that there are some women that are involved in the situation. They're going to be stationed at the POW camps. They will be there now. It may be, and I don't know whether or not this is true, that the women would not be used as guards per se in the processing of the prisoners, bringing them into these camps. There is a plan. It's already in effect. There are some camps that have been set up. The Saudis are cooperating with that. And if it's anything like the other areas of the military that I've seen since I've been here in Saudi Arabia, I can tell you that women will play a full role. The U.S. Army is treating them absolutely like equals. I think in the area of prisoner of war camps, they could be expected there to also play an equal role.
Okay, to Michigan for Linda Scherzer.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to ask Linda, now you got the French president to say that Palestine, they should be discussed. We would say if Saddam Hussein is too late for now. We know he's trying to have the Palestine and all the other things. But if Saddam Hussein would first say, well, okay, I got Kuwait now, and this is going to be Palestine home, would it be more difficult for the world? But since the world is against them, and now still they brought in the question that they have to discuss for the Palestine situation, the French president.
Okay, let's get to a question, directly to a question, if you would, please. I think, Linda, what he is asking about is a scenario that I don't think I've heard mentioned, the possibility of Saddam Hussein simply declaring Kuwait an area for Palestinians. Have you heard any talk of that?
No, Dave, we haven't heard any talk of making Kuwait a home for the Palestinians. And as Secretary Baker said yesterday, it's hard to believe that, in fact impossible to believe that Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in order to try and find the Palestinians a home anywhere. He invaded Kuwait for his own reasons. Again, back to the linkage issue, the linkage issue, Israel rejects any form of linkage between that crisis and the Palestinian crisis, and a homeland for the Palestinians, if that is to happen, will only happen once Iraq withdraws from Kuwait.
Okay, to New York now for Jim Clancy.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I have a relative in Saudi Arabia working there under a visa, and I was wondering if he will be ordered to leave.
He's working with whom, sir?
He's working for Ford in Saudi Arabia, and I was wondering if he would be ordered to leave if something does happen.
There's no indication now that anybody is being ordered to leave. Some people are taking it under advisement that maybe this is a good time to take a vacation. We've seen a lot of expatriates from countries around the world deciding that this is a time to get out and step back, step away from this crisis, and take a look and see what's going to happen next. Many other people that I've talked with, particularly Saudis here and with some Americans here, they don't feel the need to do that. They feel that they've got one of the biggest forces ever assembled, certainly in this region, standing between them and the Iraqis. They feel quite confident with that, and they have no intentions of leaving.
To Texas for John Holliman.
Yes, sir. I believe John had said earlier today that the Iraqi people really didn't have much information on the American military build-up, and I was wondering if there were any Iraqi citizens who may have a satellite that could watch CNN like Saddam does.
The truth is that there are, I think, 3 satellite dishes here available to receive CNN. One is at the Foreign Ministry, and Tariq Aziz and his staff are able to watch that. One is at the Information Ministry, and Latif Jazem, the Minister of Information, and his staff are able to watch that. And there's one, we're told, at the Presidential Palace. We've never seen that one. And the one at the Information Ministry is brand new. One of the things that I learned after I reported about the Iraqi government's failure to inform the citizens here much about what's going on in the outside world is that there are a couple of Arabic language radio stations which the Iraqi people do have access to, radio stations that are not located in Iraq proper. There's one that's operated by the PLO, which gives some news. It has a different slant, certainly, from the Iraqi news, and a different slant, certainly, from the news that you and I get to hear on CNN every day. But they do have some information that the Americans are out there and that they have a huge military presence, if not from their own government, at least from some sort of clandestine radio that they can hear here if they can get away with it.
Okay, to California now for Linda Scherzer.
Oh, yes. What is the consensus of opinion in Israeli media if there were a devastating war in Iraq? And I'll hang up and listen.
Well, I can tell you the consensus of opinion in the defense establishment, and that is, if Israel is to be attacked, that Israel would respond with a devastating blow. And the opinion of many in the defense establishment here is that that in itself is going to be enough of a deterrent to prevent Saddam from ever thinking of attacking Israel in the first place.
And let's take a break here, and we'll be right back.
They called him Duke, the legendary John Wayne. From the gunfights of the Old Southwest to the brutal battles in the South Pacific, John Wayne captured the spirit of America. Now, Time Life Video presents the John Wayne Collection. All his most memorable movies at last on home video. Start with the classic Rio Bravo, your first John Wayne movie in this spectacular collection. It's yours for the special introductory price of only $9.99, a savings of 50%. If you keep it, you'll receive another great John Wayne movie every other month. There's no minimum to buy. Cancel anytime. So call now to get John Wayne in Rio Bravo for only $9.99. Have your credit card ready. Here's how to order.
To order your John Wayne collection, call 1-800-982-2800 or send $9.99 plus $3.23 shipping and handling to John Wayne Collection, P.O. Box 11066, Department CC, Chicago, Illinois.
Tomorrow, a conflict in the Persian Gulf would require special equipment. Will U.S. soldiers be properly supplied? Desert War Innovations on CNN's The World Today, 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.
And let me thank our CNN correspondents who involved themselves in the crisis conference. And to those of you who called in, thank you as well. Stay with CNN. The news continues.
De Anza College Community Services presents VIPs in Review, a 5-part subscription series of preeminent speakers and artists. This is your opportunity to hear in person Maury Povich of television's A Current Affair on January 11th, Marriott Hartley on February 1st, the Honorable Howard Baker on March 2nd, Nathan Sharansky on April 14th, and Steve Allen on May 24th. Single and subscription tickets are on sale now for the VIPs in Review at the Flint Center box office.
If you want to pay less for high-octane power, less for an excellent detergent package, less for superb engine performance, all in one gasoline, don't stop at Chevron, Shell, or Unocal. Forget about Exxon or BP. You'll find it at Arco. Arco's powerful new Super Unleaded. On average, it's 6 cents a gallon less than other major Super Unleadeds. Arco's low-priced, high-powered Super Unleaded. There's no better gasoline at any price.
This is CNN.
On Sports Late Night, the Magic's back for the LA Lakers as they try to dish out a loss to the Utah Jazz. The Mavs bump off the Blazers as Rowe makes it go. The Suns outshine the Cavs, and a milestone for Michael, spectacular at the Spectrum. Also, the word on Bird, and we hear from the newest members of the Hall of Fame. The Runnin' Rebels would rather win than fight Utah State, while the Blue Devils put up their dukes against Georgia Tech. So don't fret, Sports Late Night's next.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sports Late Night. I'm Vince Julian.
And I'm Hannah Storm, and he's back after a couple of games gone. Magic returned for the Lakers, and just in time for them to trounce a foe that they dearly wanted to beat. Right, Vince?
Irvin Johnson back in the lineup, but I think the Magic was missing from the Jazz roster tonight. Tonight was the night Utah had a chance to grab at least a share of first place in the Midwest along with idle San Antonio. But even a 6-game winning streak couldn't prevent the usual forum funk the Jazz sinks into upon entering Inglewood. The Lakers, on the other hand, got a big morale boost with the return of Magic Johnson, who missed a couple of games with an injured middle finger on his right hand. Magic's dented digit didn't seem to matter as the Lakers rolled. They really cooled off the Jazz. John Robinson feeling pretty good about himself these days, and so were the Lakers tonight. Karl Malone with a miss. AC Green with a basketball gets it into the hands of Magic, who drives, kicks it off to Michael Thompson. Magic with 15 assists, even with that injured finger. The Lakers up by 10 in the first quarter. Just moments later now, Magic with the basketball again. Zips one to Byron Scott, who had a big first quarter, hits the three-pointer, had 12 alone in the first quarter, and hit for 20 for the game. Second quarter now, Jazz trying to come back into it. Here they come, Stockton to Malone, who misses the dunk. Lakers led by 17 at the half. On to the third quarter. More punishment for the Jazz. Vlade Divac trying to find some room around Big Markey, nowhere to go. He still gets this slam to go down. The Lakers all over the Jazz, 70-49. In the fourth, Sam Perkins to AC Green, who goes flying in over Mike Brown and is fouled. Lakers by a whole bunch, 24 and 8 roll, 108 to 85. It ends Utah's 6-game win streak, avenges the Lakers' worst defeat of the season, suffered at the Salt Palace in early December. And this was another form folly for the Jazz, who have lost 32 of 36 games all time in Inglewood. Hannah?
Meanwhile, the Blazers have had some cold water thrown on their fire lately. Portland, playing without Jerome Kersey for the 6th straight game tonight, relinquished its season-long claim as the best in the NBA. After losing for the 4th time on the road this evening to a hobbling Dallas team that has only been able to show flashes of its potential, and gone like a flash was the league's best winning percentage. At least gone for Portland at Reunion Arena, and gone for Richie Adebayo. 3 of his frontliners injured. They had lost 9 in a row to Portland. Buck Williams with the jam there. Kevin Duckworth in on that play too. He was ejected in the 3rd. Back up Randy White. What a night for Dallas. Hits the 3 at the first quarter buzzer to put his team up after 1. Off the bench, bombs away again for Randy White. He had 14 points in the first half, didn't score in the second, but got him off to a big start. Rick Adelman's team trailing by as much as 20, but came back to cut the deficit to 5. Clyde the Glide driving the lane. Drexler finished with 22 points. Big run for the Blazers, but it was the Mavs down the stretch. Derek Harper drives the lane, the 3-point play, and Rick Adelman couldn't believe his eyes, but you better believe this, Rick. Roe Blackman, Alex English, each with 24 points. It was Portland's first loss of the year against a Midwest Division foe after 11 straight victories. And Alex English, with his performance, moves into 7th place, passing Moses Malone on the NBA's all-time scoring list. To the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix hosting Cleveland. And the Suns were tired, and the Cavs were up early. But on the fast break, Kevin Johnson broke it up, and the no-look to Mark West. The Cavs still up by 6 at the half. But then Tom Chambers actually, the Cavs went on a big run down the stretch, and there's a great save there, and a hoop, and this game was pretty much out of control for the Cavs late, as Phoenix, who was very tired after a long road trip, came back down the stretch, a big 11-4 run. Kevin Johnson had 10 of his 16 points in the final 7 minutes, hands the Cavs their 9th straight loss. In the battle of expansion teams, Pooh Richardson had 30 points and 14 rebounds. He helped the Timberwolves break an 8-game losing streak.
Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, but it's also the city Brother Jordan loves. Good things seem to happen to Jordan at the Spectrum, where tonight he reached yet another career-scoring milestone. But unlike Chicago's last 4 visits to Philly, Jordan got his points, and the Bulls got themselves a win. Michael Jordan going over the 15,000-point plateau with a first-quarter free throw, and the fans very appreciative there, but I don't think they appreciated this in the first. Sixers by 10, and Jordan going up and over Manute Bol for the big slam. Still, Philadelphia is in control. Later in the first, Sixers by 7. Jordan, give and go, drives, spins, and takes it right to Charles Barkley, draws the foul. Jordan had 28 in the first half alone. Still, the Sixers are up by 4 after 1. Second quarter, Sir Charles showing a little offense here, working on Grant. Somehow gets the reverse layup to go down. Charles had 29 in the game, and Philadelphia has a small lead. But in the fourth quarter, the Bulls turn that around. They're up by 4. Here come the Sixers trying to cut into that. Ron Anderson finishes the jam, and that lead is down to just 2. Later in the fourth, Bulls by 2, and B.J. Armstrong with the basketball now. B.J. going about as high off the glass as one can go and still get it to fall down. 93-89, Bulls in front. Now Chicago by 5. Manute Bol with the basketball. This looks like his own personal Nerf game. Walks to the basket, doesn't even jump as he dunks, but he was whistled for the travel. And that was about it for Philadelphia. 107-99, Chicago wins. The Sixers have now dropped 6 of their last 7. Chicago snaps a 4-game losing streak at the Spectrum that dates back to March of '88. As for Jordan, the 40-point effort making it another night to remember in Philly. For some reason, he was always been spectacular at the Spectrum in terms of scoring milestones. Jordan registered his 5,000th point there. His 10,000th became the Bulls' all-time leading scorer at the Spectrum. And now tonight he reaches the 15,000-point plateau. Does it in fewer games than anyone in league history except Wilt Chamberlain, who needed 358 games to Jordan's 460. Meantime, the Celtics play their second straight without Larry Bird. It could be the second of many. The Bucks are in town, looking good. Frank Burkowski a big jam. But the Celtics on a 22-7 run late in the first. Brian Shaw to Reggie Lewis for the reverse lay-in and the foul. And the Celtics up 35-19. Second quarter, Celtics have a 21-point cushion. And Kevin McHale with his second straight start in the injured Bird, schooling Danny Shays with a finger roll. Third quarter now, off a Bucks miss. Kevin McHale with a rebound. Out to Brian Shaw, who would find Kevin Gamble. Look at the Celtics work the floor. Celtic-style basketball. However, the Bucks did make some noise, outscoring the Celtics by 17 in the third. Ricky Pierce buried 2 of his 10 in the quarter, and the Bucks are within 4 after 3. But D. Brown comes up with a big steal and gets it to the man of the night, Kevin McHale, who had 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks, played all 48 minutes for Boston in a big 110-102 win. The Celtics run their record at 28-5, 18-1 in the Garden, their 17th straight win at home. Milwaukee has an 8-game win streak come to a halt. And this is just the start of life without Larry for the Celtics. Larry Bird is out indefinitely because his back is bad again. Bird has an inflamed nerve in his lower right back, a swollen disc in that area. He was wearing a brace, he's taking medication, and basically he is out until he feels better, whenever that might be. But the Celtics do catch kind of a break. In the next 11 days, they'll play 4 teams. 3 of those teams have losing records. So that's
also, certainly the Celtics better equipped to deal with a Bird that's out now than they were in the past. Great effort by Kevin McHale tonight as well. And now they are the winningest team in the NBA. They overtake Portland for that honor. We hit hoops college style next, and the odds were stacked in this matchup, I think you could say, in Vegas. Number 1 got win number 25 in a row at home. The UNLV Runnin' Rebels bowl over another opponent with a super second half in a Big West battle. Showtime right after this.
What precision-built truck is also America's most popular value? What truck offers precise fits and finishes and a wider range of electronic fuel-injected engines?
Ford trucks, the best never rest.
It's Ford Ranger, the precision-built truck that's widening the sales gap every day. More people are driving the best-built, best-selling American trucks than ever before.
Tomorrow night from Hollywood, meet the former President Ronald Reagan, and you can call in. That's tomorrow night, Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Welcome back. The top-ranked UNLV Runnin' Rebels reached their average margin of victory tonight. Their average this season, 31 points over Utah State. It was a final score that was almost identical to their game last year, give or take a few points. Last year, these two teams came to blows. Well, tonight the Rebels were rather punchless without Anderson Hunt in the first half, but then they delivered the knockout in the second. Balanced attack and solid D at the Thomas and Mack Center, and Utah State was gone. But early on, Aggies' leading scorer, Kendall Youngblood, he had 21 points, all in the first half. Great ball control there. But then UNLV shut him down and exploded at the start of the second, 19-6 run. George Ackles finished in the break with a big jam and finished the night with 16 points off the rejection. Larry Johnson, the strong outlet to Greg Anthony, southpaw slam. Anthony finishes with 25 points, and it was all UNLV. A little later, a couple of passes later, showtime for Stacey Ogman and Jerry Tarkanian. A big smile and a big night from Larry Johnson. Normally Mr. Inside, but look, he pulls up for the 3, sinks it, finished the night with 31 points, and you bet they're talking repeat. 5 of the Runnin' Rebels finished the game in double figures, and now UNLV goes on the road for 6 of its next 7 games. They've won 21 straight. At Rupp Arena, Kentucky continues to climb. The Cats getting 24 points from Jamal Washburn, and they forced a season-high 31 turnovers with that trap for an SEC win over the Bulldogs. Kentucky's won 6 in a row, and 18th-ranked Nebraska becomes the first team in the nation to win 15 games with a 19-point kicking of the Kangaroos of Missouri, Kansas City. Vince?
Earlier this week, the Georgia Tech basketball team watched the school's top-ranked football team parade through downtown Atlanta. Tonight, Bobby Kremen's crew watched the Duke Blue Devils parade up and down the floor at Cameron Indoor Stadium. 13th-ranked Duke put the clamps on number 25 Tech, and this was an ACC demolition in Durham, otherwise known as Krzyzewskiville, where they pitched the tents in anticipation of a ball game. Inside, Kenny Anderson of the Jackets pretty much frustrated all night. Bobby Hurley with a nice look down low to Brian Davis for the lay-in, and Duke has a 7-point lead in the first half, and Duke just kept pouring it on. Hurley to Billy McCaffrey, who had a career night, hits that bomb, and it's Duke up by 20. Duke with the solid all-around game. McCaffrey steals the pass to Antonio Lang, who feeds Christian Laettner down low. Laettner had 18 points, 12 rebounds, and Duke is up by 23. Now, Kenny Anderson trying his best to get his team in the game. Individually, he's magnificent. Had 25 in the game, and even Coach K had to be amused with that one. But this was Hurley's night, really the Blue Devils' night. 98-57, a waxing of Georgia Tech. The Blue Devils bounced back after losing their league opener to Virginia. They held Tech to 36% shooting in this rout. Billy McCaffrey with his 29, a career high. Also on Tobacco Road, Dean Smith racks up career win number 700 as 5th-ranked North Carolina wallops Maryland. And in East Rutherford, the Pirates of Seton Hall keel-haul the Johnnies in a Big East battle. Malik Sealy was held to 11 points by the Hall's Gordon Winchester, who did the great defensive job despite dealing with food poisoning. Winchester ate half-cooked sausage on Sunday, and his stomach is still upset.
No wonder. Rod Carew, Gaylord Perry, and Ferguson Jenkins. None of them ever made it to a World Series, but yesterday they were awarded baseball's highest honor. They were voted into the Hall of Fame. Perhaps, as Jenkins wistfully noted, this is their World Series. As the 3 new members gathered today in New York to discuss their election.
You toil a long time in the game, and 22 years professionally, you know, people recognize your career later after you're out of it. And I'm very happy that I was elected. And I think my dad's even more happy in Canada right now.
I was just hoping that there'd be more than 2 elected this year, that Fergie Jenkins, my teammate in Texas, and if there were more than 2, I figured that Fergie and I had a good chance of getting in, and we know how it is to wait, and we're awful happy to be here.
I wasn't as confident that I was going to get elected on my first try, you know. A lot of people out in California asked me yesterday what I was doing most of the day, and I was just going through my normal routine, not too concerned about it. You know, I've been collecting baseball cards now for the last 15 years, so I was running back and forth to different stores trying to pick up some baseball cards.
Jenkins and Perry making it into the Baseball Hall of Fame on their 3rd tries. Some felt that Jenkins was hurt by his arrest 10 years ago for possession of cocaine, and that Perry was hurt by his admission of throwing spitballs. Well, today all 3 Hall of Famers agreed that the transgressions of all-time hits leader Pete Rose should not keep him from consideration for Cooperstown.
I think he's paid a tremendous debt, and I'm pulling for him because I waited for 3 years to get in, and I know what the feeling is. I can imagine what his feeling is, the things that he's gone through in the last year.
Pete was a tough competitor, played against him well over 10 years, and for an individual to do what he's done in the game, I'd stand behind him.
Last year, some Hall of Fame members said that they would boycott future inductions if Rose is elected. And right now, Pete Rose is eligible to appear on the ballot next year, but the rules may change on Thursday. A 12-man committee is meeting in New York to discuss the eligibility rules and whether or not a player such as Rose, who is banned from baseball, should be included on the ballot. Of course, the Baseball Writers Committee is all up in arms over that. They've promised to even boycott future Hall of Fame balloting. You know, Vince, I think that the sentiment in New York is that this 12-man committee is not going to go ahead with that drastic a measure. There might be some more compromise down the road between the writers and the Hall of Fame committee.
Right, a lot of traditionalists among that group, and whether or not they will hold this banishment against Pete Rose, well, it remains to be seen. We'll know very soon. Well, still ahead, more college basketball numbers. Plus, Giants coach Bill Parcells meets the press, and it's a meeting that doesn't always make the media happy.
What you try to do is, I try to be honest. Try to never lie to the media, but yet there are many things that I don't feel compelled to say, and the media understands that.
This motel doesn't have 8-inch masonry walls like Red Roof Inn. Still, you meet some interesting people. You were saying?
Well, I grew up in Akron.
Of course you did.
But when I was 12, we moved to Findlay, where my...
Next time, hit the roof. Red Roof Inns. Call 1-800-THE-ROOF.
Right now, for every night you stay at a Red Roof Inn, we'll give you something very special to drive away with when you check out. A brand new Lincoln. Get $5 cash back for every night you stay through February 2nd.
Some cars come and go, but every once in a while, they dance. Introducing the new G20 from Infiniti. A mid-sized luxury sedan that offers lots of room, all the amenities, and a nimble spirit that's every inch an Infiniti.
Did you know that you can send beautiful flowers like these anytime, anywhere to anyone by calling one phone number? The number is 1-800-FLOWERS because now more than 5,000 of America's finest florists have the same telephone number, 1-800-FLOWERS. All you need is a telephone and a major credit card. Just pick up the phone and call 1-800-FLOWERS. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, toll free. 1-800-FLOWERS. We're America's florist.
The rematch of the NBA Finals, Portland at Detroit.
A ref!
Followed by the Cleveland Cavaliers and the LA Lakers.
Woo, baby!
The NBA on TNT, Friday at 8.
Bigger than life.
Welcome back to the show. Chances are Bill Parcells is going to do some verbal sparring with the press whenever addressing the media. Born and raised in New Jersey, the Giants coach has his team making another Super Bowl run and remains unfazed by the New York area press. Well, the Meet the Press game is one in which Parcells always has the upper hand. Just ask our Tom Kirkland, who knows this all too well.
For the last 8 seasons, Bill Parcells has patrolled the sidelines of the team he grew up with. NFL Coach of the Year in the '86 Super Bowl season. He's a preparation-intensive man, but admits there's nothing like teeing it up for real.
Sunday at 1 o'clock, it's just a little different atmosphere than the average person lives in, and it's fun.
Here in the catacombs at Giants Stadium, Parcells and his coaches prepare the troops for the weekend battles by poring over game tapes and coming up with game plans. But some of Bill's best work occurs right in here at his daily press briefing. It's one of my favorite shows.
Well, this is a church picnic down here.
He loves this attention, whether he'll admit it or not.
When I'm walking down the stairs or going down the elevator to the press room, I do take a minute or two and say, well, gee whiz, what are they going to be asking me today? Is that relevant to this game? Well, don't ask questions that aren't relative to this game. I think a coach's relationship with the media at best, would you ask the question if you are from time to time is a little adversarial.
He likes to be in control of the situation, and that just defines his whole coaching philosophy.
There are times when the media needs to be corrected. Well, when you ask me a question, have your information straight.
While other coaches have been known to say anything, anytime, Parcells is more often mum.
It was taught to me when I was young. I wasn't just allowed to say what I wanted to say and get away with it.
Do you think the injuries he sustained early
This is a documentary now we're doing.
Yeah.
That's question 5 you're on.
Just a couple of closing thoughts, please. When the Giants want collective silence on a particularly hot issue, Parcells invokes the Hogan's Heroes routine.
That's our code word in our team meeting for not to talk to you guys. I just stand up and say, fellas, today it's Sergeant Schultz, and they all say, I know nothing. I don't want to say that I dislike it, dealing with the media, because I don't dislike it. Could I do without it? Yes, I could do without it very easily.
Okay, that's about it. Oh,
this is my last one for you.
Good.
When you consider all the big-time stars the New York media's dealt with over the years, Parcells isn't so bad. In New York, Tom Kirkland, CNN Sports.
Bill and Tom, pals forever. Hannah?
You bet. Just as the New England Patriots wasted little time in naming their new head football coach, Syracuse quickly replaced Dick McPherson, the man who left to coach the Pats on Monday. Wednesday, the Orangemen named Paul Pasqualoni, the team's linebacker coach, as their new head coach. Pasqualoni was a member of McPherson's staff for the past 4 years. At age 41, he does have previous head coaching experience. He was with Western Connecticut State, where he compiled a pretty impressive 34-17 record. Meanwhile, published reports say that several, perhaps as many as 4 longtime Syracuse assistants are expected to join McPherson in New England, so they're going to be looking to basically a college experience type staff to turn around a very bad team. Of course, it worked with Jimmy Johnson and his pals in Dallas, so you never know.
Well, it happened once, maybe it can happen again, but he will have his hands full in Foxborough. Well, lots more still ahead on Sports Late Night, including the NHL. It's usually black and blues for St. Louis and New York, but tonight the Rangers took their lumps.
I don't understand where he is. He's never late. He'd call, wouldn't he?
He might.
Could he be at your place? Danny.
Hey, what kept you, counselor?
I'm walking out. The phone rings. My dealer called to find out if I'm happy with my new car.
That's not exactly what I expect from a car dealer.
That's exactly what I expect from my Toyota dealer.
Customer satisfaction, the cornerstone of the Toyota Touch.
Did you know that you can send beautiful flowers like these anytime, anywhere to anyone by calling one phone number? The number is 1-800-FLOWERS because now more than 5,000 of America's finest florists have the same telephone number, 1-800-FLOWERS. All you need is a telephone and a major credit card. Just pick up the phone and call 1-800-FLOWERS. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, toll free. 1-800-FLOWERS. We're America's florist.
Welcome back to the ice, where St. Louis has risen to the top of the NHL with terrific play between the pipes and another superb season by Brett Hull. The all-star right wing is on pace to score 80 goals this season. And although his team has been known to belt the Blues after a visit to New York, as of late they're singing a different tune after their trips to Madison Square Garden, visiting the Patrick Division-leading Rangers. The Blues scored 2 goals within 38 seconds, second coming when Hull got his 44th goal of the season. Ranger defenseman Mark Hardy lost control of the puck, and, well, Hull just flipped it in from the crease. Now, the Rangers' Brian Leetch breaking up a play here in the second at the blue line ahead to Kevin Miller. To Kelly Kissio's shorthanded goal came back to tie this game up at 2. But then midway through the final period, we're still tied. The Blues' Adam Oates takes the pass from Sergio Momesso, who fires a shot past Mike Richter. That turned out to be the game-winning goal, 3-2 Blues, because the Rangers' Mike Gartner tries the slap shot for the tie, but Curtis Joseph falls on the rebound to save this victory as the Blues get just their 5th win in 50 trips to Madison Square Garden with 2 wins and a tie in their last 3 visits. They snapped the Rangers' 7-game unbeaten string. Red Wings' red-hot rookie Sergei Fedorov scored the game-winning goal. He also added 2 assists to defeat the Edmonton Oilers, with assistant Doug McLean behind the bench. And at the Forum in Montreal, Brian Skrudland's second goal of the game, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into overtime, rallied the Canadiens to a win over the Islanders. Montreal has won 4 straight. They're now within a point of the Adams Division-leading Boston Bruins.
And now our nightly feature, the play of the day. In Fort, we head back to Cameron Indoor Stadium on the campus of Duke University. Now, fans there can be brutal on visiting teams. Relentless verbal swipes at players, even insulting the opposing school's academic standards. But out of Cameron Indoor tonight came a touching moment. It was young love, and certainly not a dry eye in the CNN sports department when this happened, at least around Hannah's desk. Cameron Indoor again. Check the scoreboard. Carlene Brown, will you marry me? Love, Rich Cannon. Multiple choice answer. No way. Rich who? That would hurt. Yes or maybe? Well, of course the answer was yes. Carlene gets a nice ring. Rich will get the hug and a kiss and applause, and they lived happily ever after with our play of the day.
I love it.
Play of the day, brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
5 years ago, Ford passed Chevy in light truck sales, and we've never looked back. Ford trucks, the best, never rest. We just kept working to make our trucks better. We added new engines, new transmissions, new interiors, even new trucks. And our sales lead got even wider. In fact, our lead over Chevy is twice as wide as it was last year. Ford trucks, putting the competition farther behind us every day. More people are driving the best-built, best-selling American trucks than ever before.
One more NFL coaching note. The Rams let go of 6 defensive assistants, including defensive coordinator Fritz Schirmer, who had held that position since 1983. And Hannah, of course, defense was a real serious problem for the Rams last year.
Problems for the Rams last year. Problems, it was just simply their Achilles heel, so they're going to do something about it and bounce back. Another kind of roller coaster season in L.A. That'll do it for us. We're going to roll on out of here. I'm Hannah Storm.
And I'm Vince Cellini. The news continues now on CNN.
Comedy Channel. It'll crack you up. Ta-da!
Sports Monster.
Getting to this year's big game in Tampa Bay is simple. Come down to Safeway, fill out an entry form at the Diet Pepsi display, and wait. Seriously, there's no catch. Well, maybe one. We have to pick your entry.
Win one of 10 trips to the World Championship game, only at Safeway.
Sale now at Stevens Creek Toyota San Jose. Over 500 new Toyota cars and trucks on sale and great prices, best deals at the #1 Toyota sales leader in Northern California for the 4th year straight. Low prices on Camrys, hottest deals on tough Toyota trucks, 4Runners, Previas. Test drive the all-new 1991 Toyota Tercels. Next summer's best buys on 1991 Toyotas are here now at the New Year's sale. Stevens Creek Toyota San Jose.
Let Emporium add a special touch to your home with a solarium from Emporium Home Services. For less than you'd think, the elegant ambiance of a sunroom can be yours. Designed for year-round comfort and enjoyment, a sunroom can increase the value of your home. Superbly fitted and finished, an Emporium solarium is backed by Emporium's long-standing commitment to quality and service. If you've ever dreamed of owning a solarium, call 1-800-479-2122. Affordable luxury from Emporium Home Services.
This is CNN.
CNN's Newsnight Update, a late wrap-up of the day's news. Reporting from CNN Center, Dave Walker.
If it should choose to continue its brutal occupation of Kuwait, Iraq will be choosing a military confrontation which it cannot win.
If they decide to attack Iraq, we will not be surprised.
The choice of peace or war is really Saddam Hussein's to make.
Good evening. President Bush hopes for peace while the world braces for war. The U.S. and Iraq came face to face, and neither side is stepping back from the line in the sand. Marathon discussions between U.S. Secretary of State James Baker and Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz produced lots of rhetoric but no results. What Baker calls the last best chance for peace is gone. Aziz says the two sides have grave differences. Baker says Iraq is... Hello, I'm Dave Walker at CNN Center in Atlanta with a brief look at the hour's top stories. There are reports Saddam Hussein is going to offer a compromise. Arab diplomats in the UN are quoted by the New York Times. They say the Iraqi leader will wait until after the UN deadline so he won't appear to be bowing to threats. The diplomats say Hussein will offer to leave Kuwait and call for an international conference on the Palestinian question. Hussein is also to seek international guarantees that Iraq won't be attacked. The UN Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar is en route to Baghdad for a Saturday meeting with Saddam Hussein. In Paris today, he discussed his 11th hour peace effort with French President Francois Mitterrand. After Geneva talks failed to produce peace, U.S. Secretary of State James Baker is now discussing military strategy with leaders of the anti-Iraq alliance. Baker met yesterday and today with Saudi leaders, and he will travel to the United Arab Emirates and Egypt before returning to the U.S. Lawmakers face a battle today on Capitol Hill over the possible war in the Persian Gulf. Both houses will debate whether to give President Bush authority to unleash U.S. forces against Iraq. Some lawmakers have called for more time for sanctions and diplomacy to convince Iraq to leave Kuwait. Votes are scheduled for Saturday, and congressional leaders predict President Bush will win authority to launch a military strike. A new poll shows most Americans support President Bush's handling of the Persian Gulf crisis. The ABC Washington Post poll also found 86% of those polled believe there will be a war with Iraq. But across America, an anti-war movement is growing. Demonstrations, prayer vigils, and marches have been held in most U.S. cities, and they're expected to escalate in the final days before Tuesday's UN deadline for Iraq to leave Kuwait. The widespread belief that war will break out against Iraq has many large American corporations banning or sharply restricting employee travel outside the U.S. Companies say the moves are an effort to protect workers from terrorist attacks or other Middle East-related violence. Early Bird News is coming up in just a half hour. Crossfire is just ahead. I'm Dave Walker.